Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tutorials with Tom. Thanks to all who answered my tutorial question on Instagram. This video goes out to you, and if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just @TomBudin. Today we're going to be focusing on house drums and how to make them sound full and punchy in your track. We'll be covering some things like layering, multi-band compression, and sidechain to help make that mix down really pump. Bear with me as this is a little bit of a longer tutorial, but I'm trying to include as much info as I can to explain everything as I go. So, first things first, I'm going to find a kick drum that I like. Sample choice is really important for the sound you're looking for. I find Vengeance EDM packs and Deep House packs are mostly my go-to for kicks and claps. I'm going to be applying my technique from the last video by using two different claps, shortening them and putting one of them more to the left and one more to the right. I'll also increase the delay between them so it gives them a widened stereo effect. This is a really good technique to use for house and future house and deep because you can make a really wide sound with very minimal effort. Now I'm going to add some EQ boosting to the lower frequencies of the kick, and by increasing the amount, I can hear where the kick needs some work. I'm also going to send the kick to another mixer channel and overdrive the kick to make for a nicely tubed kick sound. What I'll usually go ahead and do now is add a short hi-hat followed by some other layers, some fast, some slow. I'll also add some hi-hats on the off beat and other ones on the on beat to accentuate the rhythm. Charmy is really well known for this technique. You can find it in a lot of his tracks. To get my kicks really sounding fat, I don't really use anything else except Ozone Dynamics. It's honestly one of my favorite plugins as it can make any drum sound thick and fat. What I do to make it really punch is separate the multiband frequencies to about 100 Hz so I can boost the sub of the kick separate to the punch. Then I'll go ahead and boost the frequencies up to 2K. If the kick lacks some top end, I'll add some gain to that too. Usually I'll use a compression ratio of about 1.2, 1.3. It seems to be the kind of sweet spot for Ozone Dynamics. I'm just going to go through and mix the hi-hats a bit more as well and fix up the layering just to make it sound a bit better. And yeah, it's always good to sort of just mix as you go and kind of pull some volumes down and just make sure yeah, you've got a lot of space to work with. Also, what I did here was lay out another transient of another kick underneath the kick that I was using, just to make it pop a bit more and to fill out those frequencies. Obviously, you do get some phasing when you do this. You just have to be kind of smart of how you layer it and stuff like that. Usually what I'll do is I'll add an envelope so the transient doesn't really start until the initial transient of the other kick is ending. And then generally you don't really get any sort of phasing issues and stuff like that. I'm not setting the best example here. I'm just kind of cranking it. But yeah, you know, it's better to just kind of mix at a little bit of a lower volume. What I'm doing here is just adding some percussion just to make the beat feel a bit faster, feel a bit quicker, and just a couple offbeat sort of like percussion noises and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. And as you can see, you know, there's not that much layering that goes into it. And also, I really don't do much effects or anything on my drums. I mostly just use the right samples and try and find samples that reflect what I want to make. And it makes things a lot easier in the mixing process and everything like that. And until you really add a bass line or chords or whatever, you're sort of really not going to know what the key is and stuff like that. So, you know, there's always room to change your mix and things like that. So I know a lot of you probably don't have ozone dynamics, but you can do a similar thing in Fruity Multiband if you just separate the bands to a similar sort of degree. Obviously, Fruity Multiband only has 3 bands, but if you use other things like ozone and FabFilter and stuff like that, you have more bands to work with, which does help really accentuate those different sections of the samples that you want. I'm going to add serum and fast forward so I'm not using up much time. I'll be back once I've got an okay sounding synth. I usually just use serum now. It's such a great program. It just has so much functionality and so much features just all in one. So yeah, I'll be back soon. What I'm going to do now is add some sidechain. This is my Fruity limiter. It's set up to sidechain from channel 2. Sidechain 1 there just means that it will be taking audio from the send, and then all these little knobs that I was just pointing to will basically be the things that are controlling the sidechain. Right now I haven't got any sounds hooked up into the limiter. As you can see, that's why I'm not getting any sound. But I do have channel 2, which is the clap that's already linked to the send, as you can see. What I'm going to do now is get the sound I want to duck and then go route to this track only. And then as you can see how the audio ducks with the transient of the clap that I'm using. And as you adjust the threshold, it will increase or decrease the amount of sound that's going down. And what I'm going to do is I noticed that the transient of the clap is pretty long, so I'm just going to shorten that to get a nice snappy sort of short sidechain like this. And you can definitely hear the difference, especially in a sort of volume situation when the limiter is off and when the limiter is on. But yes, that's, you know, it's very simple sidechain 101. And yeah, and so now I'm just going to keep adding more layers to the synth and just tweaking that. So I'll continue to do that as well. Pretty much all I do from this point onwards is just add multiband compression to the things that require it, but this is more of a focus on getting your drums sounding tight. But honestly, you know, it's all about your sample choice, it's all about how you mix it, and it's all about your layering. I layer my sounds a lot. Other people don't layer their sounds really at all. It really just depends on how you go about it and your production techniques, really. So yeah, just disregard the bass line. It was a very quick one. I wasn't really trying, but listen to the drums and listen to how they punch through the mix. Honestly, there's not really much else to cover. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up and a comment, and make sure to subscribe for more weekly tutorials. Thanks guys, see you later.